This episode of the Reghi and Roda podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Newark Auto Body. With winter weather and slick road conditions, black ice can cause accidents. And if you've been in an accident and your car needs a little TLC, look no further than Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body. Safe, reliable collision repairs is their business. Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body is a local, family-run and veteran-owned business serving Newark, Zanesville, and surrounding areas. And guess what? They work with all insurance providers to make your experience hassle-free. And if you are a U.S. military veteran, even better, ask about their special discounts for vets at the shop, and they will be happy to help. Look, it can be hard to find a trustworthy car mechanic, but the people over at Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body have you covered. They care for you first and make sure they keep you safe and get you back on the road. Visit them today at autobodyofnewark.com and autobodyofzanesville.com to get your repair started. Our iCar Gold Class team of skilled collision repair technicians will make your vehicle like new again.
Part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. We start things off by tipping our cap. A little round of applause, thumbs up, high five, all of the above to our outstanding producer, Cordts, making sure all of you out there in the podcastosphere are able to get the R&R podcast wherever you're listening to us. And in advance, we say thank you for checking us out, your loyalty. And Michael Reghi, well, what a difference a week makes, right? With Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. We said, hey, pump the brakes just a little bit here because Jameis threw 33 touchdowns one year and 30 interceptions that same year. So there's the good and the bad of Jameis. And against the Ravens, you got the good of Jameis Winston. Against the Chargers, you got the bad of Jameis Winston as Jim Harbaugh's team came in and put a butt whooping on the Cleveland Browns, 27-10.
Yeah, when Jameis puts a football in the air, Kenny, hang on, everybody, because a whole lot of things can happen. And as you said, the week before against Baltimore, with the exception of the Kyle Hamilton drop, the outstanding safety for the Ravens, which was big, of course, but except for that, Jameis threw the football to the guys with the same color jersey as him. Now, on Sunday, he did the exact opposite of that, right?
Yep.
And as you just laid out, look, this is Jameis Winston, man. This is who he is. And that's, why probably he lasted longer as a starting quarterback in the NFL than, maybe he deserved, but he's capable of having real strong performances, and then he's capable of just making you wonder how in the world he is an NFL quarterback that you can even think of winning with. And that showed up on Sunday. And, Jim Harbaugh's got and then different from Jim Harbaugh. Than the way he coached at Michigan. We're going to play defense and we're going to run the football. And you know what? It's all going to be physical, and you're going to have to man up to that, or you won't be able to beat us. It's the same theory, Kenny. It's just moved up to the NFL level for him. And as you saw, much tougher football team were the LA Chargers. And so the beat goes on, right, for the Cleveland Browns. And this season of discontent continues to roll on and on and on. And I don't know, man. I don't know. It's it's difficult to try to see things that you say they're there to build on, Ken. I mean, that's my main perception of this thing after watching 9 foot. Kenny, there's still 8 more games to be played. They're only halfway through, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've hit the depths yet.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, yeah, 3-6 would have been okay going into the bye week. 2-7, That's pretty dismal. And we're going to get to the trading deadline stuff here in a little bit. They subtracted two of their better players, one a couple of weeks ago and one today. Will it get worse before it gets better? Probably, right, Michael? I mean,
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's probably going to get worse. So buckle up.
Yeah. I look. Jameis Winston is the best quarterback that's on the roster, but that ain't saying much.
No.
Okay.
No.
I thought he deserved to be the starting quarterback. I knew who he was and what he was capable of, the good and the bad. So you have to take the one with the other, knowing on some days he's going to make those throws. He's going to make big plays. And then on other days, you scratch your head and you go, how the hell is he even in the league? That was a horrific throw. That was a stupid play. And he can speak all he wants to speak and, be, the so-called leader of this team by preaching stuff before the game. But you got to go back out and back it up every game, not every other game or every third game. And that's why he was available as a backup. Mm-hmm. And, why he is, with the Browns right now, because all their other options are horrific. Deshaun Watson is terrible. DTR is worse. Bailey Zappi is a third string quarterback and an emergency quarterback for a reason. So the four quarterbacks that they've played with this year or that have been on the roster this year, and throw in Hundley, right? All five of them stink, Michael, in my opinion. So that's why this is a bad football team.
Yeah, suffice to say, it is not a very strong quarterback productive room. And that's being kind.
You were very kind, yes.
Yeah, you know how. And I mean, we're gonna probably wind up seeing Bailey Zappi for God's sakes.
He'll be number 40, by the way, Michael, if he starts a game for the Browns since 1999.
Isn't that incredible?
It is, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
40th quarterback that has started a football game in 25 years. I mean, just unthinkable, and virtually unheard of. But be that as it may, Ken, I don't know. I mean, you can pick out a couple of guys, if player wise, that seem like they're playing up to their capabilities. But listen, I said it before, as someone, who has been watching this football team play since the early 80s, I really feel terrible for this fan base. And I mean that sincerely, that this fan base has continually had to endure this. And listen, to me, too, the Haslams, sell the damn team, please. I know they won't. And I know, but Kenny, I think about negative below zero of them and their ability to put together something reputable as an NFL ownership group. What about you?
Well, yeah, I think they're one of the worst owners in the NFL. Now, they're good business people, obviously, because they're billionaires, and that's why they won't sell the team, because even though the squad sucks, the franchise is making money. And that's what billionaires care most about. Yes, their ego is there, and they want to win a championship, but what's the consolation prize? Well, 31 teams don't win a championship, but at least we're making millions and millions and millions of dollars to, soothe our ego at the end of Sundays and at the end of a season.
Yeah, well, I'm out with them. I mean, never really been in with them, to be honest with you. But of course, willing to allow that they go ahead and see what they're all about. But they've shown me that they're all about, and their ownership performance to me is as bad as a lot of the on the field performances. I don't think a whole lot of what they do, how they're looking to go about, get things accomplished in a football sense. But you may be right, buddy. You just, this may be, they won't ever tell you that. And of course they would go kicking and screaming and denying all of that. But, as long as the turnstiles continue to go round and round and that cash money keeps coming in, how much do they really want to win, Kenny? How much they really want to win and will go to every length possible to get a football team that is capable of doing that. And that means everything on down. And you know how high up Andrew Berry? No, man. No, you ain't doing your job either, because this roster is not of NFL quality. It is not, Ken. It's not. And, I thought Barry was doing a decent job, but the last couple of years, man, he has sunk to the same depths as the performance on the football field. And what do you want to bet, though, that this thing keeps – it'll be Stefanski that's the one that loses his job. It won't be Barry. It'll be Stefanski, and that's a damn shame. Damn shame.
I think they can blow it all up, and I'd be fine with that. But here's the problem.
Oh, me too. They should.
But here's the problem, Michael. The ones that need to be fired aren't going to fire themselves, so they'll still be picking who the next GM is and who the next head coach is, and that's the Haslams. So therein lies the problem. They're not going to sell the team, it sounds like. They want to move the team to Brook Park, build a new stadium, build the surrounding restaurants and hotels and area around it to make even more money. And yes, I think they want to win because they know if they win, they'll make more money that way. But if they don't, it's still one of the best businesses to own in America. And that's why there's no way they're going to give that business up. Now, how much can their ego take? I mean, look at what happened this weekend to the Haslams, right? They're part owners in the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cavaliers beat them twice in 3 days. They own the Columbus Crew. They got knocked out of the playoffs this past weekend. And then the Browns got beat as well by the LA Chargers. So the Haslams went 0 for 4 this weekend with their 3 sports teams that they are either owners of or part owners of. And you know what? It hurts for a little bit. Then they go look at their bank account and go, okay, what we got next week, right? I mean, that's the way as a billionaire sports owner, that's the way things operate. And I can't see the Haslams, getting it right anytime soon with the people that they keep or the people that they fire and then the new ones that they hire. So I don't know what the answer is other than you hope that they sell the team to somebody else.
Yeah. And therein lies the big conundrum that Browns fans are in right now.
Yep.
Because it's not on a position of going upward. And like I said, I think there's a chance it's going to even get worse than this. And I'm talking about straight up on-field performance. Look, man, I don't see these guys continuing to, put it all on the line and play as hard as possible as each loss continues to mount. And there's still 8 more football games.
Right.
This could easily wind up a 3-4 win season. They got to win a couple of more football games to do that, Kenny. And that, to me, that's just a damn abomination. That's not the way that, this proud city that has had going back to the American football, the old All-American Football Conference days, back with Otto Graham and back in the 50s. That's not the way that this city and this fan base should have to deal with not only the just sad performance on the football field, but everything else that comes with it, and which we just kind of laid out. So I don't have a whole lot of hope, Kenny, that this season is going to bring more than maybe a couple of more wins. Can you imagine if this thing winds up 3-14, 4-13? I mean, can you imagine? What a laughing.
Yeah, I can, though, Michael. I can, looking at it right now, because I think the most wins they could end up with is 5. So that would mean they would go what a 2, 3 and 5 the rest of the way. Okay. They would end up 5-12. That's the most wins, I
You're
think.
being real generous.
I
Nick.
am that,
You're
but
being
I'm
very
looking at the
generous.
Saints, the Broncos, and the Dolphins as
Those
three.
are the three?
Yeah, those are the three that I think are
They won't beat the Dolphins.
Dolphins got to come here in cold weather in December. That always seems to factor in whether it's an LA team or a Florida team. So that's why I throw that one in there. The Broncos, that's a Monday night game. Maybe they show up on national television.
Saints, I'll give you. They've absolutely quit. They've lost 7 in a row.
Saints, and they fired their coach. Dennis Allen got fired. Right. So I don't expect more than 5 wins, and that means 12 losses, and that's a top 10 pick probably. Right now, based on strength of schedule, and I think there are 9 teams with 2 wins. I think the Browns are 4th or 5th if the draft were held today. So I guess, as much as it pains me to say this, the best thing that could happen is they don't win another game, Michael, and they finish. It's kind of like the old NBA Apith, another ping pong ball in the hopper. Well, in the NFL, you can tank, and if you have the worst record, you get the first pick. So that might be the best thing that could happen to this team. But then, Michael, if that's the case, who ends up using those draft picks? Is it Andrew Berry?
I don't want him and his crew picking it, can he?
Right. Yeah. Paul D. Podesta, get him. Let's throw him in there too. Get his ass the hell out of that front office as well.
Awful. Oh, yes. I mean, that's the thing. You can say all you want about top 5 pick and get a quarterback and this and that. Who the hell is making the assessments on that? Andrew Berry, no. He has done so much wrong in the last couple of seasons with his roster building that I don't want him any part of it, Ken.
I'm with you 100%. So here's what he did today. Today was trading deadline. We talked about this on the R&R podcast. We told you it was going to happen. Zadarius Smith gets traded, and he goes to the Detroit Lions. Aiden Hutchinson out maybe for the year. If not, he won't be back till the playoffs.
Probably, yes.
If things go well in his rehab. So they needed some help on the defensive line. So the Browns send Zadarius Smith to the Lions as we expected. In return, Michael, a 5th and a 6th round pick is what they got for him. I guess it's better than nothing, right? I mean, this is a guy that was playing decent for the Browns. I think he had 5 sacks. Wasn't great, but wasn't horrible. And so for whoever that general manager is that gets to use them next year and the year after in the draft, they get those picks to go along with the what was it, a 3rd or a 4th round pick they got for Amari Cooper, right, from the Buffalo Bills.
Correct.
So those are the 2 big moves that they made with 2 starting players, Cooper to Buffalo and Zadarius Smith to the Detroit Lions.
But again, I do not want Andrew Berry and his drafting constituents that are part of that personnel room to be making those picks. I don't.
Yep.
So now, again, what are the Haslams going to do? That's the thing. You may be looking at, as we said, a 3 or 4 win season. And you know what? They can say all they want about, but you got this on the brink of being a laughing stock of the league. And, at some point, even this tried and true fan base is Kenny, I've started to see it. I know it's just here and there, but, aren't you starting to see, I've been a Browns fan this is it. I'm done. I can't take this no more. This is awful.
Yeah.
Let that snowball some more and more and more. And we'll see how that ownership group that deals with that. Maybe when that cash cow they start seeing, we got season tickets now that aren't being bought anymore. People are saying I'm done.
But is that going to happen, Michael? We've seen how loyal this fan base is to a fault. where they remember 3 years without football, and so bad football is better than no football, and so they continue to buy those tickets, and whoever the ownership is, whether they're doing well or not, they benefit and deepen their pockets and their bank accounts. That's part of the problem. God bless the fans, and they deserve better, but like you said, at some point you got to stand up and take a stand as a fan.
Yeah.
But would they do that in order to send the message? I don't think they would.
Well, and again, all I know is this. You and I, back in the day in the 80s, we had season tickets, but I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't paying for them. It's because of being part of the Cleveland media,
right?
And so that's something that our model for all of us. You had tickets to every game. So you're basically like a season ticket holder. And but the point is, Ken, as much as nothing I love better than the NFL. But Kenny, I'm not paying out of my pocket to go give the damn Haslam family any money to go see 8 football games a year. And then on top of it, I gotta go pay the same amount to go see the damn preseason game. No. And I do think that if this doesn't get better on the football field, as in starting to be competitive and showing that they've got a chance to win in this league, Kenny, I do think more and more fans are going to say enough. I'm not doing it anymore. And will that be enough to have any cause and effect on the Haslams, or no? I don't know. All I know is this: I don't think they're capable of putting a real strong organization together, and I think that's beginning to show more and more.
Michael, I want to believe that could happen, but I'm going on past history. And I just don't think Browns fans would be able to pull the plug. That's what concerns me, right? And if it's a new stadium and it's a dome stadium and there's stuff to do around the stadium and all that, it's still, you know what? You're still getting to see NFL football, whether it's bad or good NFL football. And you have one of 32 cities that has it. So that's my concern with it, and that's why the Haslams are going to be laughing all the way to the bank, whether they win or lose. I
understand you. I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. But my thing would be, though, to the Hardy fan base, loyal fan base. I hate saying this to you, but when you have people like Kenny and I telling you what this thing is all about. And you want to continue to stay along, be a part of it, fine. Right. That's great. But just understand, if you're expecting a lot of competency and winning to go along with that, I think you're going down the wrong road. And I think you better look at it further than that then, because this team is not prepared to win. I don't think anytime soon. Now, Of course, you go out, and Kenny, if they do go out and they draft a quarterback that comes in and, turns into a strong NFL quarterback, well, as we know, that can change everything, right? Yep. It's the one position in all of professional sports that can really change everything. So, is it possible to happen? Yeah. Bottom line, though, I just don't have much more faith and much more to give with this current ownership group and now who they have making the decisions on the football side. I don't think Kevin Stefanski should lose his job yet, but he probably is gonna. And Andrew Berry, he should lose his job now. Because, again, if you're not going to do anything, Ken, how can they, I guess they can for all the reasons we just said. But I don't think it'd be wise to bring the front office and the coaching staff back as it currently exists if what we said a few minutes ago, Kenny, if we're talking about 3, 4, even 5-win football team when this year comes to an end. You can't bring all that back. It absurdity if you do. But because of what our point was previously, that if they feel like the fans aren't going to leave them and they'll hang with them, who knows? Maybe they do.
All right, Reds. You know what? Let's talk about some exciting football after this break. Let's talk about the college football playoff. We're done with the Browns as they're on a bye week this week. Good news is they can't lose this week, people. They're on the bye week. So that's the positive if you're a Browns fan. Their next game, Sunday, November 17th against the Saints. So we'll tackle them down the road. When we come back, let's dive into the first 12, if you will, from the college football playoff rankings and tell you when the final rankings will come out and take a look at the teams that maybe have a shot at winning a national championship at the collegiate level. We'll do all that when the R&R podcast continues right after this.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue on with the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And Michael, the AP poll is great. The coaches poll is great. We love that. I was a voter in the Harris poll. You probably voted somewhere along the way, and those are all fun and everything. But with the way college football is now set up, none of that really matters until the College Football Playoff Committee gets together and they put their rankings out. And the first rankings came out tonight as we tape this on a Tuesday night. And they gave their top 25 teams, Michael. And I'll read the top 12 real quick, okay? And then I'll get your reaction, Michael, to what the committee threw out there as their top 12 teams, because now there are 12 teams who make the playoffs starting this season. So if you're one of the top 12, you've got a shot. All right, so here's what it looks like. In at number 12, Boise State. 11 is Alabama. 10, Notre Dame. BYU is 9. Indiana, the Hoosiers, come in at number 8. This isn't a basketball poll, people. This is a football poll. Indiana in at number 8. Tennessee is 7. Penn State, 6. Texas, 5. Miami, 4. Georgia, 3. Ohio State, 2. And Oregon, 1. That's their top 12 as of right now. But the little wrinkle in all of that, Michael, is only one team from a conference can get a bye, right? So the byes would go to Oregon, Boise State, Miami, and Georgia, according to the bracket that we saw. So your thoughts on this top 12 and those byes and the way this is set up?
Well, just to add one more thing, as the way Ken just laid that out and explained it, that means with Oregon the number one team. So while Ohio State, probably most people believe they're number two in the country right now, they cannot get that first round bye.
Correct.
Because Oregon, now in the Big Ten, of course, will have it. Kenny, what I do think it does, though, is, I mean, let's just lock in on the Buckeyes for a moment. Now, and again, there's 3 more weeks of this on Tuesday nights, right? And then is it Sunday, December the 7th, after the conference championship games are played, that the final college football playoff rankings will come out?
Sunday, December 8th. So yes,
8th. Okay.
The second Sunday in December, which is Sunday, December 8th. That's when we will get the final rankings and the actual playoff bracket.
Things will probably change, but how about this? If they were right now, as of this moment, in the first round matchup, Ohio State, the 5 seed, remember again, because Oregon is 1, and Ohio State can't be seeded above them or in the top 4. But Kenny, Ohio State at 5 would be hosting Boise State in that first round matchup in Columbus. And then with a win there, they would go play the 4 seed, which is BYU. And they'd be on the road and go to Provo, Utah, and play BYU. Now, again, it's probably not going to stay that way.
No.
But all we can do is go on what it is tonight, right now, as they put. I think that'd be a terrific opportunity for Ohio State to advance to the college football playoff Final Four. And again, probably not going to stay that way, but right now, Ohio State would host Boise State in the first round, and then with a win there, would go play at number 4 BYU.
Right. Thanks for correcting me. You're right. It's BYU who would be the bye in the number 4. Ohio State would play, as of today, 5-12 matchup there. Correct. So, would that be nice? Yes.
Real nice.
It would be a nice situation for them.
Yeah, it would be. You got there's a couple Kenny is right now again all on what transpired tonight as we record our podcast on Tuesday night following the first rankings that came out. You got Alabama going to play Texas. How about Notre? Here's Kenny. You'd love this because 2 of the teams you really can't stand, Notre Dame at Penn State.
There you go.
Would be another matchup. And Indiana, the darlings right now, and I think Indiana should have been ranked higher than Penn State myself. Again, week 1, we'll see what happens. But Indiana would go to Tennessee right now. And what Curt Cignetti has done with that football team this year is just phenomenal. And how just explosive they are, how strong they are. And who knows? This might be maybe one of the most improbable playoff runs because, you could have got a lot of money before this season started if you said Indiana is going to be a college football playoff team.
Right. Now, here's the thing to remember. As you mentioned, this is just the first of many of these college football players. While Oregon is number 1 right now, should the Buckeyes play Oregon again in the Big Ten championship game and beat Oregon, then the Buckeyes more than likely would be a number 1 or a number 2 seed in all of this. So while, the bracket looks great now, I'm looking more, Michael, at the 12 teams that they think are the 12 best. Right. And we'll see if it plays. I'm keeping this first ranking tonight to see when it's all said and done, how close the committee was to getting it right. The first rank. You know what I mean? How many of these 12 are going to be in their final 12 is what I want to see. So I'm saving this to compare, all of that. I don't know. Is there somebody just outside the top 12, Michael, that you could see sneaking in as that 11 or that 12th and final team? Is it SMU, Texas A&M, Iowa State? Is there anybody you think that has a chance maybe down the stretch to bump one of these 12 that are currently in the college football playoff committee's poll, or no?
Yeah, I think it'd be a long shot, but I do like SMU. I think
Okay.
nobody watches them too much
Right.
down there, and when you think of SMU, I think people still think, oh, Eric Dickerson and Craig James.
Right.
Well, yeah, that was in the 1980s.
Pony Express.
The Pony Express. There you go. So I don't really. I think I can see multiple of these teams though that are in the top 12. I could see in that 4 to 5 make put themselves in a position to get in the Final Four and the national championship game. So it's going to be fun. It always is. And originally I thought, I don't know, is taking it to 12 from 4, is it? But you know what? It's the right way to go. It's the right way to go because it gives more very strong football programs and teams. Because to me, Ken, if in this day and age, I mean, if you can go 10-2, let alone 11-1 or 12-0, I think you should have a chance to play for something real meaningful. And by going to 12 teams, it's done that.
I like the opportunity for more teams. Mm-hmm. I'm of the belief sometimes there's an injury early in the season, right? And a team gets some guys back and then gets whole and healthy at the end of the year. And they're one of the best teams, but they lost early a couple of times previously, right, in the years and didn't get that chance. So I like the 12-team playoff. I'm all for it. And I'm curious to see how this baby plays out. Ohio State. Hey, I'm looking at Ohio State playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, but guess what? They still have to beat Indiana,
that's
and
right.
Michigan, even though Michigan isn't a very good football team this year, right?
Not this year, no.
But they've lost 3 straight to them, so they've got to exercise that demon still after the week after they would play Indiana.
That's right.
So they still, I'll say, Michael, I'm not a believer yet in Will Howard for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Okay.
The way he closed the game or failed to against Oregon and the mistakes he made, fumbled snap and the slide, starts the Penn State game with a pick 6, right? Fumbles going into the end zone. He left 14 points on the field there, or gave 14 points, depending on how you look at it, with a 7 one way and 7 the other way. I'm not a believer in him just yet. I know the Buckeyes are doing everything they can to build up his confidence and saying all the right things, but I'm not yet a 100% believer in Will Howard. He hasn't won me over yet. Now, what has won me over is the physicality with which they beat Penn State last week. And that's what Michigan did last year to Ohio State. And that's what the Buckeyes did defensively with the goal line stand and then running the ball 11 straight times to run out the clock and beat Penn State. So I came away pleasantly surprised with their physicality in the win on the road at Happy Valley, but I have my doubts still about Will Howard at quarterback.
Well, I think we're going to see, because I do believe that is it 2 weeks? Is it a week from this coming Saturday when Indiana comes into Columbus?
23rd.
Well, I got that red lettered, man. I think that is going to be something real special, and I got to feel Ohio State's going to have to really bring their A game in all facets of it to I think to come out of there with a win. And if it turns into a kind of win that they got, it's all to me, hey, I don't think you can worry about style points and putting 40 plus on the board. I just don't think. I think they're going to be in a 4-quarter football game and maybe, trying to find a way to win in the last 5 minutes on a final drive, which kind of was what Nebraska was, right? But Indiana's far better football team. So that's going to be real interesting. For Ohio State, if they're able to do that, they will have earned that. And then, as you said, don't trip up again and lose a 4th in a row to Michigan, because this year that would look extremely bad because Michigan's capabilities are nowhere near what they've been for the last 3 years in making the playoffs every year and winning the national championship last year. So, but you got to take care of business against Indiana first, and I don't think it's going to be easy, Kenny.
That's going to be a tougher game than anybody expected. But I will say this. Let's make sure Indiana remains undefeated getting to that point as well, right?
Well, they'll beat Michigan at home this week.
Yeah, we'll see.
They should. I mean, if they don't,
should.
Then, yeah.
But I need to see that happen. It's still Michigan and Ohio State are still the class with Oregon of the Big Ten. So this will make me I'm not a believer in Will Howard yet for the Buckeyes.
Okay.
Indiana beating Michigan, even though it's a down year for Michigan, will make me a bigger believer in Indiana because I still look at you got to knock off one of the big dogs, right? And
sure.
That's going to make me believe more that Indiana is for real if they can't even though it's a down team, beat Michigan this week. So we'll see.
No, I get it. But again, this is not I went to the Michigan, had my first week off from calling games, so I went to Ann Arbor last Saturday and saw Oregon, Michigan, and Michigan played a good football game, hung with them, had it tied into the third quarter, and but then offensively, Kenny, this is not anywhere near what Jim Harbaugh's offenses were, and they just don't have the quarterback play that can go win big games like that. So. All of that having been said, I mean, I expect Indiana to win at home and keep their roll going, and then it's pretty. If you're in Indiana, I mean, that's I don't know. I don't know. I think they're like in the last forever. I think they're like 3 in 1,000 against Ohio State and Michigan combined, right?
Yep.
This will be so they got them back to back now, right? Back to back, they got them.
Well, let's see.
Or is there a bye week?
I think there's another week in between, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what it would be. So whether it's a bye, I don't know. I didn't look at Indiana's schedule, offhand to know exactly what it is. I just know, Michigan is. Next on the dot here. I'll pull it up right now so we know for sure. Indiana's remaining schedule looks like this. They've got Michigan on November 9th. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, they get the bye. So they get a bye. That's what it is. You're right. They get a bye to prepare for Ohio State. So they can lick their wounds from the physicality that is Michigan in a win or a loss. Get a bye week, and then go to Ohio State while Ohio State plays Purdue, Northwest, then Indiana, then Michigan without a bye in there because they already had their 2 bye weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, if Indiana is able to do this, they're certainly going to earn it. I still believe that it might be a tight, close football game. I don't see an Ohio State just absolute wrecking of Indiana, but I believe the Buckeyes will win and find a way to win at home, which then you hope that. They don't go off the rails and lose another one to Michigan. But hey, if they're ever going to get back to having control of that rivalry, it better be this year, because if they were to lose a 4th straight with an average against an average Michigan football team, then I don't know what to tell you. Not just leave it at that. I don't know what to tell you.
Right now, out of the top 12 teams in the first college football playoff committee rankings, 4 Big Ten teams, 4 SEC teams, 1 ACC team, 1 Big 12 team, 1 Mountain West Conference team, and 1 independent in Notre Dame. That's the way it breaks down, and we'll see if that is the way it ends up again on December 8th. Anything else, Michael, on this, or is it a wrap for this edition of the R&R podcast?
I think it's a wrap. I think we put forth everything that's our beliefs and how we feel about things as we always do, and we'll now start to see how the regular season ends right and that college football playoff begins. Other than Cavaliers 8-0.
I was just going to say, throw that in there, even though this is mostly football. Hey, Cavaliers have tied the record for best start in franchise history, going all the way back to 76-70. Hey, AC shooting it. Hey, I never made a pass. I didn't throw. I didn't shoot the ball. Whatever AC says, right? AC and the boys back in the day, 76-77, they were 8-0. And so the Cavaliers, with a win on Wednesday at New Orleans, would set a new franchise record with a 9-0 start for the first time in franchise history. And everybody's chipping in, and Evan Mobley looks like a different player, at least through the first 8, and liking what I'm hearing and seeing from Kenny Atkinson. So kudos to the Cavaliers. Keep it up.
Fun to watch. Very fun to watch. And I'm sure we will get into them as the season goes along. With much more regularity here on R&R.
Now you see me, now you don't. Mouse in the house. Throw the hammer down. All right, Reg. Always all of that and then some. Always great catching up with you, pal. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll do it again next week, all right?
Sounds good, Roadman.